Right, so I'm back home now after 4 days in the hospital. I ended up breaking my cheekbone and a couple other facial fractures here, so we had to have surgery to get that fixed up, get me looking good again. So a couple days later, I'm recovering well, feeling a lot better. My face was really swollen up. It was a little bit hard to talk, hard to eat food for a few days, but we're almost back to 100% now. Let's start with the biggest question, how it happened, how I ended up in the hospital. So it wasn't a scooter accident, anything like that. I was actually playing rugby. So I've played rugby most of my life. We have a team here in Da Nang, and we were hosting a big rugby tournament here in Da Nang with teams from Vietnam and Thailand coming over. It was a beautiful day. I was so excited. I've been looking forward to this day for months, training nonstop, getting ready. I was so excited. What a bummer. This happened, ruined the entire weekend. So it was early on in the day, super routine play, making a tackle, got my head in front of the runner, so I caught a knee to the side of my face, ended up breaking a couple bones here. So rugby is obviously a super dangerous sport, but I've been playing about 20 years now, and I've only had a couple semi-serious injuries in all of that time. So this one was just an example of bad luck, bad technique on my part. So it was really a pretty soft tackle, so I can't believe how this happened. But as soon as I made the hit, my whole face feels like it's on fire, and I feel the side of my face. I could feel this big indentation in my cheek. So immediately I know it's broken. I know I'm done for the day. Walk off to the sideline, call the medic over. He looks at it, immediately waves the other people down. So they call the ambulance right away. They take me to the nearest hospital, which is luckily only a few minutes away. We get there, they do brain scans and x-rays. They see that the cheekbone is broken right away, and there's another fracture in my orbital socket here and another on my jawline. But mainly it was just a cheekbone that was causing the big dent in there that needed to be fixed with the surgery. So it's really interesting. So you can see the break pretty easily on the x-ray. It's really weird looking at your skull like this on an x-ray. We really are just skeletons underneath, huh? Kind of funny. Now this is the point where I have to start making some decisions. So they were ready to do the surgery right away. They said it's really important that you don't wait too long so the bone doesn't start healing kind of the wrong way. But this hospital we're at is a very local Vietnamese hospital. We're out in the countryside about 30 minutes outside of Da Nang because that's where we were playing the rugby match. So my first thought was to head back to Da Nang and try to get a second opinion. So in Vietnam, there's a lot of different types of hospitals. Of course, you have your local Vietnamese hospitals. They're going to be really cheap, but you don't necessarily know what kind of care you're going to get there. And then there's international hospitals where everybody speaks English. You know you're going to get the top care in the world, but it's going to be at least maybe 4 or 5 times the price as the local Vietnamese hospitals. So for something like this, face surgery is pretty important. So I wasn't really thinking too much about money. So I wanted to go to the really good international hospital in town. But this weekend in Vietnam was a national holiday. So I called them, told them that I already had the x-rays, so what's the deal? They told me that they couldn't even schedule me to see the specialist until after the holiday, which was going to be about 3 days later. So then I'm thinking, man, I really don't want to wait. So maybe we'll just do it at the local hospital where I was. So in the end, I decided to put my faith in the local Vietnamese hospital and just hope that they could do a good job. I went back the next day, and I have to be honest, I was really nervous, super scared the entire day. So there's nothing wrong with this hospital, but it's very small, it's very basic. It's just not exactly what you might be used to coming from America, for example. So we start doing some tests, start to get everything prepared for the surgery, and they say I have to wait until the afternoon before we can start the surgery. So a few hours later, they wheel me to the surgery area, and the door is locked, so we knock on the door. So a minute later, a nurse comes out, opens the door. She looks like she's just woken up from a nap. So in Vietnam, everybody takes a nap in the afternoons, and apparently this is true even in the hospitals. So we go straight into the operating room, and the nurses are literally just rustling about, waking up from their naps in the different hospital beds around, and they immediately start prepping everything for the surgery. And I'm like, whoa, guys, I'm not in a huge hurry here. If anybody wants to get a coffee or something, let's make sure we're kind of awake and alert, we got to be focused for this. But no, straight onto the operating table. And now at this point, I'm really nervous. Being a foreigner, everybody's speaking Vietnamese, so I don't really know what's going on. The doctor comes over to me and he's saying a bunch of stuff in Vietnam, and I don't really understand all of it. But he does say something like "Đừng lo Antoine," which means "Don't worry, everything's safe." And I just tell him "Em tin bác sĩ," which means I trust the doctor, so let's get this over with. Puts the anesthesia mask on, and literally 5 seconds later, I'm out. I wake up and I'm in my hospital room. He puts the anesthesia mask on, and literally 5 seconds later, I'm out. I wake up, I'm in the hospital room, everything's over, finished, went fine. I ended up staying in the hospital for 3 full days and nights after the surgery. And this, I think, is a little bit different than how surgery would go in America, for example. I think they would send you on your way right away, just give you some pain meds and antibiotic pills that you have to take. But here they were really serious. They would not let me leave. They wanted to clean the stitches a couple times a day, and they were giving me antibiotic shots through the IV a couple times a day. The first day I was still super out of it from the anesthesia, but by the second day I felt like I was pretty much fine and I wanted to go home. But they made me stay a little bit longer. But overall, the whole experience in the hospital was really positive. I was really impressed by everything. All the nurses were super awesome. They would come in a few times a day and just chat while they were doing little things. They were always smiling and laughing, so they made me feel really comfortable. I should say, at no point did I feel like I was being treated different because I'm a foreigner or anything like that. So I was pretty bored. There wasn't too much to do.
Like this shirt?
Yeah.
It's for days. Got something you need to hold? No problem. Hold me home, hold you on, hold you back me. No problem.
You like your outfit?
Take this one home with me.
Babe, babe, you're really good at this.
Mostly everyone at the hospital spoke very little or no English at all, so I had to speak to them in Vietnamese the entire time, and luckily Luan could translate all the medical stuff that was complicated and I didn't really understand. And I have to give a huge shout out to my girlfriend Luan for being so loving and caring. She stayed at the hospital the entire time, slept there with me, took care of me every day, washing me, feeding me, and just having her there to talk to everybody and sort everything out so I didn't have to worry about anything or be confused. It just made the whole experience a lot less stressful and easier to get through. When you stay at the hospital, all your meals are included, and the food was pretty good there. So it's all typical Vietnamese food, the same kind of stuff that I would eat every day. They have a little cafeteria there on site that literally just looks like a little local Vietnamese food joint. And they had a couple different options that you could order every day for different meals. One thing that was really weird and funny, every meal they would bring me 4 boxes of milk. And usually I would drink one or two of them with each meal. But at the end of the 4 days when I was leaving, they rolled out a cart with 87 boxes of milk on it. And they said that this was left over because I didn't drink enough while I was eating my meals. And so I could take all this home with me. And I was so confused. I was like, what are you talking about? How is there 87 boxes of milk? And I'm not exaggerating, 87 boxes of milk. And they insisted like it was included in the price, it comes with all the meals, and I didn't drink enough, so I have to take this home with me. So whatever, super weird, but now I have a refrigerator full of milk for the foreseeable future. So now let's talk about the price of everything and the insurance part of it. So I don't have any insurance whatsoever, mostly because I'm an idiot. So let me quickly explain why that is. So I had a job in Vietnam for 4 years. With the job, I had full coverage, insurance, and in that time, I never once went to the hospital, never had to use the insurance. And now, since I've not been working for about a year, I looked into getting insurance, talked with the insurance companies, got the rates and everything, fully planned to do it, just never filled out the paperwork to get it done. So I play rugby pretty frequently, maybe once every 6 weeks or 2 months. We usually go to a different country and play in tournaments around Asia. So every time we'll go for a rugby tournament, I'll order a travel insurance package just for the weekend that'll cover me. Usually it's about 50 bucks or so. I'll put that in the description if anybody wants to check that out, if you might need something like that. But normally that works fine and I never worry about it. But I had been meaning to get proper insurance for the whole year for when I'm in Vietnam. And I looked into the prices. There's a really popular company here that does insurance long term for foreigners. It's called Bao Long. And they sent me the rates. The cheapest package was about $80 a year. And that gives you coverage for basically emergencies, surgeries for accidents, stuff like that, up to 60 million Vietnamese, which is about $2,500. And you would have to pay a 20% copay with that. So, for example, if you had a surgery that cost $2,500, you would pay $500 out of pocket. They would cover the rest. So, really, it's super good deal. It's still really cheap compared to any Western countries. So after this, I'm definitely going to sign up for a full year of real insurance. I'll get probably even a more expensive package. I'll end up paying about $200 a year. And that should cover me for the most part in case I have another accident like this. I definitely think everybody should have insurance. Don't be like me. So let's talk about the total price for everything now for me paying 100% out of pocket with no insurance whatsoever. So the ambulance ride to the hospital, the x-rays and CT scans there, and the pain meds, all of that was about 2.5 million Vietnamese, which is about 100 US dollars. The surgery itself was about 12 million Vietnamese, which is less than $500. Staying in the hospital was about 2 million per day, including all your meals and stuff like that. All the other fees for the IVs and medicine, little things here and there. The grand total, everything all together, was about 30 million Vietnamese, which is about 1,200 US dollars. So to me, I think that's insanely reasonable. I can't complain at all about the price. If I had gone to the international hospital, I think I would have been looking at about $5,000 or $6,000 at least. And I can't even imagine what this would cost in America if you didn't have insurance. But I'd probably be financially crippled in debt for the next 10 years at least. So I'm really feeling like I got off easy. I was happy to pay the $1,200. Overall, I was so impressed with everything. If I had to do it again, I would go back to that same hospital for sure. Now, if I'm a foreigner living in Vietnam and something does happen, you have to go to the hospital, most people are going to be way more comfortable going to the international hospital where they speak English, they can explain everything really well. But if you did want to save money, you could go to these Vietnamese hospitals. I think it's safe to say you're going to get good care there. The only real difference is the language barrier. And if you had to, you could hire a Vietnamese translator to go with you and sort everything out. I think that would cost about $20 a day. So now it's all finished. Definitely a humbling experience. Hopefully I can avoid something like this happening again. I want to thank everybody that sent messages and comments from YouTube, all of my rugby teammates here in Da Nang, all the other players from different teams that sent me messages while I was in the hospital. Thanks to everybody for watching. I hope it was helpful. I'll be back making videos soon, so I'll see you in the next one. Peace!